Good evening. My name is Kate Schmidt. I'm the Executive Director of Faculty Affairs here at Pima Community College. Faculty Affairs is the unit that houses the Teaching and Learning Center, and we work collaboratively with all divisions of the college to continue to offer support to faculty and administration to improve teaching and learning. I want to welcome you to Pima Community College tonight, and I also want to give a special thanks to our community partner you will hear from, Arts Express. Arts Express has dedicated itself to building a better community through arts education and musical theater and programming for over 35 years in our Southern Arizona community. I'm here tonight with my colleague, Josie Milliken. She's our Faculty Senate President. Josie?
Thank you, Kate, and welcome to our third Cross-Discipline Conversations series event, Theater Spotlight, Blurring the Lines Between Industry and Education. The Cross-Discipline Conversations series is supported by the Faculty Senate and the TLC for the purpose of sharing faculty projects and programs with other faculty and administration while fostering collaboration and cross-discipline work at the college. For this particular event, we wanted to make it a true cross-disciplines conversation by inviting a faculty colleague to moderate the event. When chatting about whom to invite, Kate and I immediately thought of Terry Filipowicz. Terry is instructional faculty at Pima. She currently teaches communication, but has also taught journalism, digital arts, and technical writing. Currently, Terry is overseeing a project to create a mass communication and media focus in the communications department. Until 2019 and joining Pima full-time, she was acting president at a book publisher with a niche in gifted education and psychology. Most of her career has been in television, the majority in news, as a writer and producer. Her calling is all things media, communication, journalism, and writing. In addition, Terry did theater in high school and after college and has had her share of Sprite and pretzels at cast and crew parties. While she loves to tap dance and Irish dance on stages, her theater work was always backstage because she likes lurking in the wings and she can't learn lines or carry a tune much anyhow. And I doubt that, Terry, but that's Terry's own little descriptive phrasing right there in the end. So thank you so much, Terry, for moderating this discussion.
I don't know, you have not heard me sing. I'm not quite so sure about that. So a couple years ago, a friend of mine was performing in Secret Garden and talked very highly about the production. And I said, I'm going to go watch that. I'm actually going to go to that production. So I'm sitting in the audience, I'm flipping through the playbill, and I see a name that looks familiar, but I'm not 100% sure where I know this name. So I look deeper into the biography and I see, this is Chris Will. This is the new faculty member, another coworker of mine at Pima Community College. So as Josie so wonderfully introduced me, I'm Terry Filipowicz, and I'm also joined by some amazing people in theater, including Chris Will, Andrea Pratt, Karen Wiese, Andrew Gray, and Allie Devaney. And I want to hear first from Chris, because I want to hear about the production that you're working on now. And I understand that you're going to show some video or some photos of that. Chris?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was like, hey, I've done the Secret Garden before. And then you said that's what we want. So that was lovely. Yeah, we've got a video, a little sneak peek. This will be the first time that the public has seen any kind of footage of the show. And it's a bit of video from the show and a little bit of backstage. So I'm going to share my screen, make sure I'm sharing sound, which I am. And see if this works. Update that.
So Chris Will is the director of this production. How did this collaboration begin between you and Arts Express?
Yeah, that's a great question. And in fact, the collaboration started before I even moved to Tucson. I don't know if Karen remembers. I got a phone call from Karen, I don't know, 2 months before I was even moving. I had already taken the job at Pima, accepted the job, and we were planning to move. I got a call from Karen, and Karen had called Todd Polstra, who used to be our full-time staff at Pima. And I believe Karen asked Todd if he wanted to direct a show for her in the wintertime. And he's like, no, I'm busy, I'm set. But ask this new guy. This new guy's coming into town, hot shot, whatever. Give him a call. And so Karen gave me a call, and I was just so honored that just to even get the phone call. And I was like, even if this directing job doesn't work out, like, this is amazing. Like, it felt right that like Tucson was literally calling me before I even moved there from Wyoming. And so I was able to get that job, and it was directing their Christmas Carol 3 years ago. And I just knew there was something special about Arts Express from the very first rehearsal and the very first conversation with Karen. And before I took the job at Pima, I really wanted to try to bridge the gap between the professional world and the educational world. Because as an educator, I've kind of seen this gap between what we're doing in school and what they're doing in the industry. And so we really have been collaborating for the last 3 years in all sorts of different ways, with me directing shows for them, and then having our students at Pima opportunity to be on stage and backstage, having Pima provide the places for the Montes to do some rehearsals before COVID and everything. So this really, isn't the first time that Pima and Arts Express have been collaborating as a partnership. We just decided, hey, let's make it a little more formal, and maybe let's see if doing a show together is something that could work, and it really has. So yeah, like I said, from the very beginning, I feel like Arts Express and Pima have been collaborating from day one.
So you mentioned Karen's name already. Karen, who's the executive director of Arts Express. So Karen, what has this experience been like for you? What have been some of the benefits?
Well, it's so funny to hear Chris talking about when we first met, because it was by phone and I was driving, and when he said, yes, I'm interested in collaborating, and then we started talking about education and professional theater. All of these things that I've been wanting to do for so long within Arts Express was like happening in like a matter of minutes. And so I already felt that bond, which was so cool. And then he and I have been talking about that for years. And then all of a sudden it started happening about a year ago. And we were by then on Zoom because of COVID. But I'll never forget looking at him and his looking back at me like, we're really finally doing this. We're actually bringing together Pima and Arts Express. We're bringing together professional theater with students in education, and we're looking at doing it in a real integrated way. So through that, it was just so cool to be able to evaluate the risks, the opportunities together, to do that during a time that was so challenging for all of us during a pandemic, and to figure out how we can make art happen during that time. It's just going from that, the steps that you have to go through with any businesses coming together, but then once you start making it happen, then the magic starts happening, and the collaboration starts happening, and you start realizing that this is going to be something bigger than either one of our organizations. And that's where we are now, is presenting that out to the community. So we were super excited and honored to have collaborated with Pima Community College, but also to be able to be delivering this this weekend, this show.
So Andrew Gray is playing El Gato. And Andrew, we would love to hear what your experience has been like has it been different working with students? Did it meet your expectations? Tell us what the collaboration's been like for you.
Thank you, Terry. It really exceeded my expectations, to be honest. I mean, you know, Karen and Arts Express dove into COVID feet first. I mean, they really like head first, really, with Sweeney. And Chris was part of that. And I knew that they had done that successfully and they had done it very well. And so coming into this, I knew that there was this whole environment of respect and, you know, being COVID aware, and yet still being able to maintain this, you know, this successful theater rehearsal process in a show that really does not lend itself to social distancing. I remember Chris commenting, we were in the second or third rehearsal and he was like, I was going through the script and I was like, please, he was like, no, don't let them kiss. Right, they have to kiss. Okay, we got to figure that out, you know. So the way that Chris and Andrea designed the set and really planned the production to make it all work despite those restraints was amazing, and the students really impressed me.
Well, and you just mentioned the name Andrea Pratt. So Andrea, what has it been like to work in this type of production between two different organizations? How has that influenced how you teach students tech?
Andrea, do you know you're muted? I'm so sorry.
We were just talking about that. It's fine. It's fine.
Thank you for that question. I've learned that having the student, as unexperienced as they are, putting them immediately in the hot seat and giving them full autonomy makes them become the most successful that they're able to be. They have an urgency to bring the best part of their talent forward, and it's been an honor watching that happen.
Which obviously means Allie Devaney is a Pima Community College student, or actually you're a recent graduate, correct? And
not at Pima yet.
Oh,
haven't graduated college yet, but yeah.
So tell us what this was like working with Arts Express. What was your experience like?
It was great. I think it honestly has really matured me as a person, because you're brushing shoulders, well, not literally because COVID, but you're getting the opportunity to work with people who have had so many theatrical experiences. Like, I know Andrew's like done opera in, you know, several parts of the world. And I think that's honestly my favorite part, is just getting to know the people individually and just knowing that there is that respect there, and just having an understanding and being able to create such a magical experience together, because you're all there to create something great. And I think that is my favorite aspect of it.
So if you were going to, this is for any of you, if any of you were going to change something about the collaboration, if you were going to do anything to, you know, to make things shine even brighter than they already are, what would you change?
Well, I'll start. It's an easy one. I would change that we would be able to not have COVID and have the audience really experience what we've experienced. I mean, during rehearsal, I felt that the whole time where I was just like, it's not fair. I mean, I'm very proud of the video. It looks really cool. And it was a new way for us to kind of explore how to tell a theatrical story that's not a film, but it's still theater. And so very innovative, loved it. It was awesome. But I'm sitting in these rehearsals, especially towards the end, and I'm just like, but the audience will never be in this same space and like feel what the audience feel, the characters feel. And so I know it's an easy, quick question, but would love to have the same opportunity, but share it like we normally do with an audience.
This really brought me back to the beginning when I first started theater, because the reason I started is because I loved the audience. Even though I do backstage, I love to feel the audience. And I remembered that through the whole process. And I even remembered in this Zoom call because we were rehearsing before this and they showed the video and Allie had not seen it. And I didn't take my eyes off of her reacting the whole time, because that's really what we do it for.
I would have loved to have had found a way to have live musicians. This score is so dynamic, and it just really is so beautifully written that it really allows you to be dynamic with it. When you're singing and you're doing all the acting and everything, and you can have musical pranks. And we did a wonderful job, did an amazing job with the musical track that we had. But having live musicians, there makes a huge difference. And again, darn you, COVID, but yeah, audience, it would be great to, maybe redo this. I mean, I chose my background because I didn't know if you guys were ever going to get to see this, but this is that set, and the pass under, being able to use this so that we had shots from both under and above in order to maintain social distancing was brilliant. Andrea did a great job with this design, and it was so clever, and it worked so well. Yeah, so that would be my wish, would be just being able to get live musicians in there.
Yeah. Can I piggyback off that just a bit? Two things. One, when we were talking about the audience, we were like, what do we do? Do we have like a laugh track? Like, do we literally try to put in the audience so then that can help the actors? And like, we spent a lot of time like talking about that. We ultimately decided not to, when you see it, because we were like, no, they'll laugh when they have the experience at home, right? And with their friends, and we didn't want to like, because it's not that type of show where it's like, it's not manufactured. This is all organic and this is all real. And I have to agree with Andrew 100%. What I love about the video that we just watched is the very end, when you have Andrea's original drawing that she sent me months ago of the set and how it morphs into the real set. I've watched it like 50 times, and like I can't stop watching it, because I think it's a metaphor of what we do as artists, where it starts small on a piece of paper and in a few artists' minds, and then it becomes real, and like it's so much fun to be part of that process. And I think for me, I had a lot of ideas of the show and what it could be, and what I thought it could be and what I didn't want it to be. But the show didn't start until I saw Andrea's picture, and she just texted it to me, and I was just like, that's it. And like everything from there kind of built around that. And it's fun when stuff like, and it sometimes it's costumes, sometimes it's set, sometimes it's like, but for us it was that drawing. And I saw the show, and it's so cool how our entrances aren't from like stage left to stage right. Like literally the actors are coming up and down, and it's just so innovative. And I just want everybody to know that, like, for me, that picture really started everything for me, and it was just a unique opportunity to play with that.
Yeah, when Chris is talking about, do we have a laugh line or do we have applause? It made me think about, as a producer, what do I look at? And not only do I love the rehearsals and the rehearsal process and seeing it come to show, which I did get to see through all this, but I also really love talking to audience members after they've seen the show. And it just kind of struck me with all of this is, we're not going to have that. So I'm hoping that people are active on social media, that they're active with their questions tonight. I just hope that we can figure out ways, as we always do, to communicate, because that's really important, not only as organizations, but as individuals and as for the actors as well. For them to be doing this without hearing the response from the audience really made them have to think even more and to get into their characters even more, and to learn how to respond to each other, to the other actors even more. So that raised the creativity another bar. So I'm looking forward to hearing how the audience responds to it after we performed it.
We have a question from our audience right now. What was your favorite part of the show?
Is it just the show in general, or like the process of being in the show?
Maybe either.
Ooh.
It's your interpretation.
That's true.
Our creative
well, for me, I really enjoy the more tender moments of the show where like not a lot was going on. Like the very first song is very like calming, and I love being able to take in the space and take in just everything that's happening around me. And it's sort of a moment to just breathe and get ready to tell this amazing story. So that's personally my favorite.
I have two favorites. I'm going to say them both. My first favorite is teaching. I just love seeing the students succeed, especially in this production. The circumstances were so different, and they had a lot of roadblocks in front of them, but they just continued to persevere, and they did an amazing job. My second is the process, just like Chris said earlier, just love collaborating. I especially love collaborating with Chris. It's like our ideas just flow in the same circle. It's so strange and great. And I hadn't been able to work with him for a while because we had been working on different projects. We were just trying to figure out, okay, how are we doing this COVID thing? So working together again was like, oh yeah, I remember. This is awesome. It's just, I love the process.
I think for me, some of my favorite moments in the show was when, and the process, is when you had a professional actor share a scene with one of the students. And, to watch the scene and not really tell who's the professional actor and who's the student. We're just storytelling. It's just good acting all around. And you can watch how the professional actor is guiding the student, but in a very gracious and humble and nice way, and not like, come on, keep up with me, what are you doing type of way. To just be able to watch that. And then, I had a realization in rehearsal. I was like, and these are mostly freshmen at a community college having the opportunity to perform with a professional actor. Like, I was just like, I want that. Like, I wanted that, right? Like, and to be able to give that quality of an experience and that quality in the show, those are my favorite moments. I mean, it was fun to just watch the students perform, and they're like, yes, they're getting it, and they're growing, and they're discovering who they are and what they can do. And then to watch the other moments in the scene where the two professional actors, like Nathan and Gretchen, right? They're just an amazing duo when you guys watch the and to watch them work was great. But I think my favorite moment was that hybrid where it was like, oh, look at that, and like, look that it's working, and you can't really see a gap or a difference. Like that was really a proud moment for me.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off what Chris said, that and actually something that Andrea said too. This production forced the students to focus in a way that a traditional production, you didn't, it was just different. It's just different. And they gave their all. And when you see it lock in, and they're just so wonderful. I mean, it was wonderful performing with Allie. She was fantastic. And everybody, and Donovan, and somebody, Sophia, she was our mute. She didn't have anything to say, and she kept finding creative ways to speak volumes without saying anything. And watching everybody commit to that was a joy, and being part of that, it was just so rewarding. Being able to witness that, and being invited to be part of this process again. It reminds you so much of, and I learned stuff. I mean, that's what this industry is. You just gotta keep learning, and it was really outstanding.
One of the themes that I heard in several of those answers was the idea of mentorship, the idea of relationships. So what statements can any of you make about these opportunities now that students and the professionals already working in the field are having now for mentorships? How is that relationship symbiotic?
I think the biggest thing I'd have to say is that it's much rarer than you'd think in this current society where we're at, that you would have an opportunity for people that have been in the professional world to work with people who are either in school or just coming out of school. And it's a wonderful kind of relationship to develop with a group like Arts Express, because they know that they're developing. The Arts Express has been here. People know the Montes. They're wonderful awards that they do for high school students. And there's such a wonderful community group to make this kind of thing happen. Arizona Opera has their own resident artist program, but they pull from out of state often. To have a group like Arts Express make this happen is very, very special. And for Pima Community College to embrace it is just outstanding.
For sure. I mean, I've just been blown away by the bigger picture that Andrew's talking about as far as how organizations can come together. We're a medium-sized, feisty, but medium-sized professional theater company, but to be working with a large organization like Pima has been interesting in terms of looking at how to integrate. And we integrate a lot. I mean, we collaborate a lot with other organizations. That's kind of the name of the game of our business model. But when you start looking at a production, you're looking at integrating on a whole different level. You're integrating the cast members, the crew, the production team. And so there's so much more that has to come together to make that collaboration work. But the piece for me that made it on a more personal level that answers that question is, it's that individual interaction that starts happening and that trust that starts happening. For instance, I would interact more with some of the tech students the student that was working with props, for instance, or the student that was working with costumes. And Nate, who was the prop master, would come in and ask about a certain prop, and wasn't finding it at Pima, was wanting to look for it in Arts Express. And I'm like, go in the prop room, see what you can find. He goes, really? Like, yeah, really. And then, you know, it's really cool to be able to see those wheels start turning, but that trust that you start developing, bringing it back, thinking outside of the box about how you might be able to use a certain item. For me, that was the cool part of being able to really get traction with what a mentorship would look like, and what it can do, because it's all about individuals that are growing through the process. We grew through the process as well. Just amazing.
I always tell my students there's two main things to be successful in theater. The first is to work as hard as you can to be excellent at your trade. And the second is to build relationships and network that is like as strong as family. And I feel like this really started that for them, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, I would have to say we're kind of going backwards as far as educational and theater, where actually having theater in a formal institution is actually relatively new. The old way that an actor would learn is they would be cast in a show as like spear holder number one, and they would just be on stage and no lines, but they're just watching. They get to be in the space, right? But then the education comes on breaks. The education comes when you're sitting around waiting for things to happen, and these older veteran actors would start giving their tips, would start giving their tricks, their trades. And so really, in my mind, we're going back to the root of real traditional education in theater, where sharing the stage is way more valuable than me as a professor having them read an acting book and give you a quiz. You know, that the second way is, you know, more stagnant and less informative. But the first way, the way that we did it with the show, it's more active, and it's just, that's how it used to be. And so that's why I knew if we could get all the nuts and bolts figured out, because that was important and that's tricky with two institutions, if we could just get into that rehearsal space, I knew it was going to work because it's worked for years before. It was really fun to be in that space and partake in that.
Something I'd like to just comment on, just that struck me as surprising. And again, this is something that I really have to credit Andrea and Chris for, is that we were in our production, and unlike other things that I've done, the students primarily, unless we were on break, stayed off their phones. They were watching what we were doing. I was on stage and I'm like looking around and people are just, and I mean, it's amazing. We had a young man who, Ian, he was one of the cover. He was word perfect when he came in, and he was one of the understudies, and it just blew me away. The dedication that everybody had was just incredible. And I don't know if it was entirely, I mean, part of it's COVID. We all knew this was going to be a challenge, but it was really impressive.
So one of the questions then I have is regarding what's it like to be a creative? More specifically, when does somebody become a professional in the arts? I mean, isn't it something that once a creative, then always a creative? So if somebody would like to start and address what's the life of a creative, when do you become a professional?
That's such a great question, and there's a couple ways that you can answer it. I mean, the boring, cheap way is like the first moment you get paid. So like you get $20 to do a show, you're a professional. But I think there's something deeper, and I think your question has more meaning to it. And I actually think I actually I am a professional, right? I do get paid to do this, and I've performed in very many professional ways, but I actually like to think myself as an amateur. When you use the real root word of amateur, because the root word of amateur is for the love. You do it for the love. I don't have to get paid to do this, right? The only reason I require payment because my wife says that now that you do it, this is a job, you have to get compensated. Like all of the stuff that I've done for Pima and for Arts Express, I do it because I love it. And I think when you really become a professional is when you really fall in love with every part of it. I even love the stuff that's hard. I even love the stuff that's frustrating, and because I know that, like, ooh, you know, one thing I've learned along the process is like all we are artistic problem solvers. That's all we do. Earlier on in my directing career, I was like, why does everything go wrong? Like I plan this thing and it never happens the way that I want it. Well, then it dawned on me that happens all the time. It never goes the way that you wanted it to. And so we're just artistic problem solvers is all that we do. But I remember for me personally, when I fell in love with the whole process of theater, and it actually wasn't on stage and it wasn't directing, it was for a dance concert in my undergraduate program, and I was gelling a light. My job was to put gels in a light, and that was it. But like one night it dawned on me in tech, I was like, if I don't put this amber number 456, I made that number up, I don't know if that's true, in the light, the performance won't be what it needs to be, right? And so that moment for me, I was like, oh my gosh, like what's great about theater is it's the number one collaborative art form. And to me, that's what I love about the theater. So I think for me, it's when you really fall in love with everything of the process. I think that's when it hits for me.
I would have to second everything Chris just said. Plus, the very first time you leave an IHOP at like 3 a.m. after a tech rehearsal, like that's when you've really been burned in. When your shoes, like you wake up with your shoes on, that's definitely a moment where you realize you are in it to win it. Yeah, there's a point where as a professional you realize that you are wholeheartedly taking responsibility for every detail you can. That is your job, and you're doing your best to love and forgive, because things never go exactly to plan, but you're in it for the love, and you're in it because people walk out different than they came in. It's a very important thing. The ancient Greeks used to consider astronomy and the arts to be two sides of the same coin. And the astronomy is that it's the study of large things in outer space, and the arts and music are the study of great big things inside us. We do this because we need it. It's not something disposable. Art is something ingrained in us for thousands of years. And so when we take it that seriously and we think about the healing that happens when they come to see a show like ours, that's it, you know. And to be able to do this and be able to make money and be able to live doing this is an amazing thing.
I agree with everything Andrew said, and I wasn't quite sure how to answer this question because I wasn't sure if I could consider myself a professional. But for me personally, it's just about the passion. Like once you've dedicated your entire life to doing this because you love it, that for me is where I'm like, okay, I need to find a way to make this my career, something that I can live off of. And I just, if I'm able to get to that point, I think it's going to be amazing to be able to have a career that I am both passionate about and also keeps food on the table. So, yeah.
This topic is so important to me. People are born creative, but they learn how to be professional. And as teachers, it's important that we know that, because being creative can be hard. Like I'm choking up when I'm speaking. It's a feeling type of personality, and you have to really learn how to channel that and make it a productive part of art, and learn how to market yourself and be confident in yourself and understand how to make your ideas come to life. It's a process. It takes a long time to learn.
Taking that to another level as well, for me, with looking at Arts Express and what we were going to do through COVID, we did a lot of things last year just to kind of make do. But then we finally had to get to a point where we go, why are we doing this? Okay, there's a pandemic going on. That's a big deal. But then you also have to go, well, what's our role during this time? And this is the second career for me. I was a hospital administrator for many years. I've worked within healthcare. I know how serious COVID is. But as you look at what the arts is, it is essential. And for me, as long as we keep looking at the arts as not being essential, as long as through all of this that we looked at it as being back burner, then we would always be non-essential. And so it was important for us then, it's important for us now to continue to innovate, to be creative, to look at ways that we can safely but do what we do and continue to deliver the arts to our community and beyond. And I think that speaks as well to all of this is when you take it from being amateur to being professional, when you take it from to really look at your art form and internalize it to being, this is who I am, is when you start really thinking about how can you continue and persevere. And that's been a driving force throughout all of this. And I'll give it to Chris, who was one of the first people that said something that really made me come to that, which was he said, let's let safety inspire our creativity. And you might go, huh, what? But then when you start looking at that, you really can. And that's been so critically important through all of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's when the pandemic hit, we had new given circumstances, and especially on stage. I mean, the biggest two were you have to stay 6 feet away and you have to wear a mask. You're like, okay, so like Andrew was saying earlier, we're taking away the kiss, we're taking away the slap, we're taking away all this like close physicality. And we're taking away one of the most important parts of the actors is their face, right? To not have any other, because that's where the emotion is stored in places. But you're just like, okay, just add that to the given circumstances, and you can still be creative. I had a teacher once say, there's always room for you to be creative, no matter how tight the given circumstances are. So no, even the smallest of picture frame, a picture can exist, right? But you can't expect to paint this huge picture if you're given this really small picture frame. So we were, looking back at this year, it's going to be proud, and I have to say Karen was a really big drive in this, COVID restricted theater where, with our first one with Sweeney Todd, literally there were days, and I think one time I did call Karen and be like, I think we need to pull the plug. Like, I've never said that before in a show, but I just was like, it's too scary out there. The infection rates are so high. What are we doing? And Karen's like, trust me, we've got this. We'll be safe, But I think both at Pima and at Arts Express, we'll look back at this year and we'll be proud of what we did. And that we were safe. That was the always first thing. And like Karen said, it was just new parts of given circumstances, and then that gives you the opportunity to be creative. I mean, I had another professor once say that if failure is not an option, then creativity's not. And so we could have totally failed in all of our productions with COVID, but we are artists, and I liked what Andrea said too. We're all creative. Everybody's born creative. Everybody uses their imagination too. It drives me crazy when people just limit imagination to artists. We use our imagination to cross the street. We see what it would be like. Will that car hit us? No, I don't think so, right? So definitely there were opportunities for us to fail this last year, which gave us ample opportunity to be creative.
We all came to this event tonight to hear about a collaboration, but we truly are going to leave this event also being inspired, which leads to this question. The collaboration between Arts Express and Pima Community College, there is an impact beyond those two organizations, right? There's the ripple effect. I feel Andrea's passion. We all feel each other's passion. How does this affect the community? Where do you see this type of feeling? Where do you see this type of creativity spread from beyond these two buildings, these two organizations?
I'll go ahead. I really think that in between Arts Express and Pima Community College, something beautiful is really kind of starting to happen. One, Arts Express does a wonderful job of instructing their people and the teaching opportunities. And then Pima Community College has such a diverse base of students. I mean, it's incredible. So you're going to see people see potential, people who maybe haven't lived their dreams of being on stage. Maybe people that worked for a hospital all of a sudden want to get it back on stage and be in something like White Christmas or something like that. We'll see that opportunity. And it also gives the students at Pima who want to move ahead another stepping stone. Because when you graduate, it's terrifying, because it's so easy to think, okay, which serving job am I going to take first? And then you worry about your auditions, So yeah, it's one of those things. It's like they've got somewhere, okay, I know I can go here and I can continue.
Yeah, I really do think that it just really creates a sense of unity in the community, because for me personally, it's easy for it to get kind of divided, like, oh, all these different theater companies, like these are professional actors, like they're only going to hire people who have been in professional productions. But I don't really think it's like that anymore. Like, doing these collaborations really, like what Andrew said, really allows different kinds of people to come together to do the thing that they love, which is perform. And I think it's wonderful.
Well, I can say that we already employed a couple of the Pima students to be working on our next production. So there you have it. So, but in addition to that, I've had some students asking for reference letters and for referrals for other jobs and working with other theater companies as well. So that's part of what I see as far as the impact is just, again, creating those relationships, but looking at the bigger community. And as Allie was talking about, is not being afraid to step beyond that and to reach out. Because I mean, when it comes down to it, professionals are people too, and most of them aren't scary. Yeah. So it really opens up those doors in a lot of ways. But the other part of it is just the message of the Fantasticks, and I think that will also have an impact as well. And I'm going to actually toss it back over to Chris to talk a little bit, and Andrea as well, talk a little bit about the design concept that you created there, because I think that really speaks to the metaphor of the Fantasticks.
Yeah, Andrew, you take it. It was your baby.
Well, Chris sent me a picture. I was like a year ago, and I was like, Chris, send me something like a picture or give me some info on how you want to take this. He sent me a picture of two trees, and they connected underneath. The roots connected to each other. So then my mind just took off. You know, that I just everything was connected, but at the same time, we had to create a space that we couldn't be together on. So it just sort of formed the roots underneath and just sort of made my brain make that picture.
Yeah, and it was, like I said, and I didn't even perform on that stage, but I feel like I did. But that what Andrea gave us as far as the space, and so the space is so important, and like that's what we're missing. We're not sharing the space anymore. We're sharing a screen, and we're sharing devices and whatnot. But it was so unique. I've never had an opportunity to stage a show on so unique stage like this, and it was just perfect for like what we're dealing with COVID and all this uncertainty. To give the actors that kind of unique space. It was a little scary at times because it's pretty high. And so the first time I'd always be like, okay, actors, just go walk up there. Don't even act. Don't even pretend. It's not scary. It may seem scary, but just go up and just feel out the space. You'll be fine. It's safe up there. And then they totally got used to it. And Andrew was the best and the worst. Like, he was like hanging on a rail. And I'm like, dude, don't fall. No, we can't get hurt. But it just, you got comfortable up there. And, I teach in an acting class that the space needs to be comfortable for the actor so it can be dangerous for the character. But if you flip that, and if it's dangerous for the actor, it can't be comfortable for the character. And so the students and the professional actors definitely had an opportunity to do that. And we just want to say, this whole streaming thing has been so weird because we don't know how to advertise it and how to attack it. We're so used to like 2 weekends, get everybody to come for these 2 weekends and then go. So, but we do want to say that the streaming will be available this Saturday, March 27th. And you can get tickets through Arts Express's website. And the streaming bit, so here, we've all learned this. You have a year to buy the video. Then what, and Karen, correct me if I do this wrong, a year to buy the video. Then once you buy the video, once you click it to watch it, then you have 48 hours to finish it. It's not 48 hours long, so you don't need that. It's only about 2 hours. But that's always kind of confusing in the streaming world where it's like, wait, it says 48 hours. So 48 hours from March 27th, I have to watch it? No, no, no. You've got the whole year to purchase it. But then once you actually go in and press play, then you have 48 hours to finish it. Did I say that right? I said that right?
Yes, you got it, Chris. That's correct.
See?
Yeah. But don't
Once we
wait
figure out how to do
wait
it, then we
a
don't
whole
have to
year.
do it anymore.
Don't
Yeah,
wait a whole
yeah.
year to
Just
see
buy
it.
it now.
Right.
Right.
We are unfortunately coming close to the end of our time together, regrettably. But as my final question, and then we'll conclude and say goodnight. Tell us one word, each of you, tell us one word that best describes your experience with this collaboration. One word.
I'll go. Synergy.
I was going to say fluid.
Heartfelt.
Magical.
Am I the last? Oh man. I wanted to cheat and be like, fantastic, right? That's been like the running joke. Like, oh, that's fantastic. Oh, get him in, because when the show closes, we can't use it anymore. I love all those words. I think those words are perfect. I think if I had to pick, I would say honor. It was an honor to be part of the process and to just be there. It was honor would be my word.
And it has been an absolute honor to be able to moderate and host this event tonight. Thank you to everybody in the audience, everybody on YouTube right now and who are going to watch this later. And honestly, thank you so much for all the organizers at Pima Community College that put together this particular event. And most importantly, really in this, thank you so much to our panelists, to Chris, to Karen, to Andrew, to Allie, and to Andrea. Thank you everybody for joining us. Have a wonderful night.
Yay!
Oh man, you nailed that right at 8 o'clock, Terry. That's incredible.
See, Chris, that's how you do that.
I don't know how to do that. I'm always like 15 minutes over. I say too much.